And welcome into a Monday edition of the Gabe Show here at KCTV5. I'm Jared Koller with the star of KC Sports Tonight, Gabe Swartz, to talk ball. All right, that's what Gabe said he wanted to do. He said, Jared, let's talk ball. I said, well, I was hoping to talk favorite Christmas movies, favorite Christmas music. And he said, no, the people want to talk ball. So you know what? Let's do it. Starting with, that's college football. There's a little tease. We'll talk college football coming up. What are Gabe's thoughts on the college football playoff and the local schools? Stay tuned. But we're going to start with the Chiefs because we didn't get to talking KC Sports Tonight about the Chiefs on Friday. So, Gabe, we'll start first off with your reaction. Now that you've had a couple days to step away from the ledge of the Chiefs game against the Raiders, they won. They're 11-1, still the best record in the AFC. But Friday was not pretty.
Friday was not pretty. I think it was by far the game that left you with the worst feeling of the year.
More than the Panthers?
I think more than the Panthers, because the Panthers, at least, it was consistently them moving the ball.
Yeah.
And the penalties was more of a problem than just not being able to block anyone at left tackle.
I think it's close, though, because I think the Panthers are worse than the Raiders.
Fair. I think that the Panthers are kind of figuring things out, though,
True.
offensively. Bryce Young looked good against the Bucs yesterday, too.
But nonetheless, yes,
would have
not
won
a good,
without a fumble. Yeah.
Not a good day.
So, yeah, I mean, they just keep finding ways to win, but – and I keep seeing, and I was particularly upset Sunday morning seeing Rex Ryan say that this is a definite first-round loss team.
Yeah,
I think that it is absurd to believe that this is a team that you should just compare to normal teams that are winning a lot of games and winning them by not very many points. This is it is either willfully ignorant or just plain stupid to believe that the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are on the same level of the Kirk Cousins Minnesota Vikings of a couple years ago, where they were whatever it was, 9-0 or 10-1, and their one-score record in the record in one-score games was like 7-0, and everybody said, "Oh, this is due for regression," because yes.
And they did.
Records like that are due for regression in the NFL. What I would argue is that when you have the best quarterback in the world and the best coach in the world, I would say that the margin
history
for error
does not apply as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that was I feel like people are wildly overreacting, and I'm not hearing the same amount of concern and outrage when a team that plays the Lions on national TV in a standalone game does dumb things to lose them the game and hand a win to the Lions, and similarly a day later the same thing happens to the Chiefs against another bad team. And
you heard a lot about that game, but it wasn't like, the Lions got lucky. It was
the Bears should just fire everybody, which yes, and they did, but
also the Raiders were the Raiders and did stupid things.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's part of it. Like, the Chiefs do stupid things, but Gabe, they do stupid things fewer than their opponent most weeks. Like, in the week they didn't, the Bills didn't make many mistakes, and that's honestly what it comes down to in sports in general. Like, remember that 2014 and 15 Royals team? Like, nobody thought they were, outside of Kansas City, thought they were any good until they watched every single postseason game where other teams just made mistakes and the Royals didn't. The Chiefs are kind of doing that, except they're making mistakes just fewer and at better time. You know, like they're better in the fourth quarter. I shouldn't say that actually, because they have kind of had trouble closing games this year. But either way, at least on offense, even then, that offense a lot of times has had the opportunity to put the games away. So maybe not they're better at closing, but they just make fewer mistakes than a lot of teams, which has value. Gabe, let me ask you this, though, because as you were thinking, I'm like, would there be less national outcry if the Chiefs were 9-3, but had a couple blowout wins in there?
If they had even one 40-point performance offensively, I think there would be a lot less outrage. If there was just one game that you could point to and you could say, you know what, that's what it looks like when it all comes together, because I think every single game, for one reason or another, the offense, you can say, has not hit its A+ or its playoff form or whatever the matter is. And meanwhile, the Lions, they've had a couple games where they've stalled out and it's gotten close and such, but they've also had like a 40-point game, a 50-point game, and I think people are largely blinded by outlier performances rather than just the consistent level that the Chiefs play at. And
well, I think that's stupid.
I agree. We're on the same page with that level of argument. I think that what we're seeing more of, though, and whether it's the fact that the Ravens apparently can't kick anymore despite having Justin Tucker on their team and their defense has regressed.
Travis and Patrick broke him.
It seems like the AFC is a two-team race, and it ultimately is going to – I'm not a believer in the Steelers. But
no, I wasn't. Yeah.
Who would be your third? The Texans are flawed. They messed around with the Jaguars for a long time yesterday.
I could see the Bill. Like, yes, those are easily the top two teams, but like in the playoffs, if you told me the Bills got upset,
but that's the thing is, I think that if the Bills are not the opponent in the AFC Championship game, I just don't see the Chiefs losing to anyone else.
Right. Oh, so you're saying, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
I'm saying that I don't think that there's any team that can make the Super Bowl out of the AFC that's not why the Chiefs or the Bills.
The outrage, if we hadn't, I think the outrage was more justified last year, not just because, they were playing worse last year and losing games, but because we hadn't seen them flip the switch to the degree that they did last year. But, now, it's very possible that the Chiefs this year aren't able to flip the switch come the postseason. But until they prove that, I'm going to say they're going to flip the switch in the postseason, and until they don't. But the other thing you mentioned, things would be different if they had a 40-point game because of their offense. I'm not as worried about the offense as I am the defense because the offense, I think you can excuse with having Isaiah Pacheco gone for a lot, and so you had zero explosive ability in the running game. In his first game back, he had a 34-yard run, longer than Kareem Hunt has had any carry this season. You haven't had Rashee Rice for most of the year. You had a rookie named Xavier Worthy. You had Juju Smith-Schuster out, and you did not have DeAndre Hopkins till the last few weeks. You have no good play at left tackle for majority of the year, whoever is out there. Now you might have DJ Humphries who at left tackle, who I don't think could be much worse. I think you can explain why the offense is disappointed, and you can make the case for why the offense can be better. The defense is less, other than Charles Omenihu coming back, they kind of more have their horses in the stable.
Yeah, for the most part. I think that I think that Sunday night will be a really good indicator of are they kind of sleepwalking through the regular season, and I say sleepwalking lightly because it's still an 11-1 team. That is it a team that can hit the switch? Because yes, the Chargers are a solid team. They're 8-4. They played a really great defensive game yesterday to hold the Falcons down. But at the same time, it's a team that I think the Chiefs should beat, and typically the Chiefs have handled the Chargers pretty well. I know that it's a different regime with Harbaugh and Jesse Minter at defensive coordinator, and they had a pretty decent plan against the Chiefs in Week 4, albeit Rashee Rice goes out of the game pretty early on, and that kind of blew things up for the Chiefs.
I think that was Mahomes' worst game of the year, too.
Yeah, just thinking the Cincinnati game was pretty not great.
I thought he made some good throws in Cincinnati. I think he made one great throw against the Chargers. It was the touchdown to Worthy. It's the only time they've connected on deep ball. That's where it's they were if they connect on that deep ball at the end of the game against the Raiders, we talk about that game totally different. I just think they're close in a lot of areas on offense, whereas the defense has kind of been picked apart consistently of late against teams that shouldn't be picking them apart.
Well, but not to repeat the same things of the analysis pregame, but last week we were talking about how the Christmas Day game last year was a little fluky and a little coming down to 2 turnover plays. Well, yesterday was a kickoff return that set up, not yesterday, Sunday, Friday. My whole days and Thanksgiving weekend really messed me up.
Have a good weekend, Kansas City.
Friday, the Raiders return a kickoff to the Chiefs 26 and then score 2 plays later. And then the next drive of their game, they get a 1-play score. So it's
no, you're right. I was kind of thinking.
I don't think that the Raiders had a ton of success aside from that very end where they knew that they had to get things going. And that was the biggest reason why I was pretty anti the Chiefs punting from midfield, knowing that 1 play and 1 first down ends the game with the Raiders not having any timeouts, and you would have been at the 2-minute warning and just able to take kneel downs.
I think they could.
That's a whole
I see
game
both sides of that. But, I was thinking more kind of the Panthers game, grouping that in there. But you're right, the defense, I thought, had moments. They got after the quarterback at a lot higher rate. Jones had 2 sacks. Karlaftis had 1 sack. So just having a Minute in the fold was a welcome addition. So we will see how they come out against the Chargers. Over the last 2 games, those were the 2 games everybody kind of predicted, all right, this is where they turn it on. This is where they blow a team out. At this point, I think everybody expects a 15th straight one-possession game. 9 of the last 12 games against the Chargers have been one-possession games. But also this year, Gabe, I think it's like 80% of NFL games have been one-possession games. So it's not a uniquely Kansas City thing outside of the fact that they consistently win every single one-possession game. But close games are just how the NFL is wired right now, which makes for a pretty good product.
Yeah, like every game was pretty much a one-score game yesterday except for Bills-Niners, and that was kind of just weird snow. McCaffrey got hurt.
Same on Thursday and Friday. 3 out of the 4 Thanksgiving Black Friday games were also one-score games. So, but I don't blame. There's a reason I did the little heading is Chiefs stress, because there is stress in Chiefs Kingdom over these tight games. So we'll see what they have in store. Speaking of stress, college football has had there are people worried about the product of like, will the college football playoff make the regular season not important? Bunk. This has been an awesome regular season, and as a whole, I think all 3 schools have a level of disappointment, but the least disappointed, in my opinion, Gabe, should be Mizzou. Let's start with the Tigers. Your thoughts on that win over Arkansas to cap a 9-3 season?
I think that another one where the weather was certainly a little bit of something to deal with there.
Didn't pass the ball much, yeah.
And, there was a lot of running the ball, but, that's just a game where I don't think that the talent gap is that significant in Arkansas versus Mizzou, and I almost felt like given what Arkansas kind of had motivation-wise to mess things up for Mizzou in terms of, they're a ranked team, and to just notch another ranked win.
Yeah, but Mizzou had motivation.
Yes, certainly. I'm just saying I think that I was actually really impressed with the fact that Mizzou avoided ending with an 8-4 record, because I think that would have been viewed as overwhelmingly disappointment. I think that they finished at a spot where you could say, it could have gone a little bit better.
Can you get to 10 wins?
You could have felt like the South Carolina game could have been flipped upside down. But as far as
there's other games that
Bama and A&M were really not anything that you could have. So overall, I'm interested to see what bowl game they go to, and what I think there could be a lot of turnover.
Well,
it's probably what Brady Cook's last appearance, and he'll play in that one. But you're not going to have Luther Burden.
Right. I think a lot of seniors will. I think Johnny Walker said he would. I think Theo Weiss said he would. So still should have some decent guys. No, I think you're right, Gabe, and that win will help them get a better bowl game. And that's where I think it was kind of a microcosm of the season, no? Like the game where they kind of struggled early but stayed in it, and then they got ahead, then got down and had to come back from behind in weird fashion. And how did they come back and win? It was Brady Cook and Luther Burden at the end, who at times didn't have great games, but the defense was good enough, and the defense forced turnovers. That's the thing. The defense this year was good at forcing turnovers, I think. They just had a couple of times where they just, couldn't play defense, like at the end of the South Carolina game. But I agree. I think it was a great win for one of the Mizzou fans who went out and made great atmosphere all year long, and for those that toughed it out in the snow, it was a pretty cool game. And Brady Cook goes out, a victor, I think.
Do you have his all-time? I don't even know. How many games did he win in total?
A lot. Mizzou has won 23 of the last 30 regular season games, which plus a Cotton Bowl win over Ohio State. It's why I can't bring out any venom towards anything Mizzou, because I think I can bring out the sadness. I can be sad that if Mizzou plays one more minute of defense, they're in the college football playoff. But if you want to say, hey, if they don't play 1 minute better against Oklahoma, Auburn, Vanderbilt, I think this was a 9-3 team that could have played up to 10-2, that could have played down to 7-5. So I think it's fair, and I continue to give Eli Drinkwitz credit. He's a guy that can recruit, and he's a guy that flat out gets his team to win most Saturdays. It's time to accept that. We have a 30-game sample size, Gabe. That's legitimate.
Yeah.
Give him his flowers, people. Well, now I have to do it with that pretty quick. He hasn't proven he can win without Brady Cook or go 500 in SEC play with Connor Bazelak, which is kind of impressive in hindsight. So I don't think he's a one-quarterback coach when he did what he did with Bazelak as a freshman who ended up not being much. All right, on to the Kansas State Wildcats, who you were paying close attention to. Or no, it was already clinched by their game.
Not when they kicked off. It was not.
So Kansas State playing who Iowa State beat, and Gabe, I bring that up because Gabe, Arizona State guy, will now play Iowa State. So you were watching them to scout the competition a little bit.
Yes.
What'd you see out of that game and what Kansas State did? Weird game.
Yeah, weird game. It also felt like it never felt like Iowa State was going to lose, but at the same time, it felt like the main reason that Iowa State was in control of the game was everything that K-State gave them. Whether it was the 2 fumbles in in their own territory to set Iowa State up with short drives and easy touchdown drives, or whether it was the intentional grounding for a safety, which kind of was the end of that was probably when the greatest amount of hope was there for K-State.
That's kind of when I was like, all right, they're going to lose.
Yeah. So I thought that K-State certainly squandered some opportunities. I know that Iowa State was playing for a lot more, and K-State took the field knowing that they could not go to the Big 12 championship game anymore because Arizona State had absolutely dismantled Arizona as expected by many. But I'm very intrigued to see what the K-State leftovers are in terms of who remains in the program, whether Jace Brown stays around.
There was reports he was going to transfer,
and then he scored 2
touchdowns,
and it was like, well, if he is leaving, then this is getting awkward.
I wasn't locked in. Like, I saw that he was transferring, and then I was cutting Mizzou highlights. Then when I went to start cutting Kansas State highlights, I'm like, what the heck? That's Jace Brown. I was like, well, I thought he was gone.
He tweeted out a statement that he was committed to finishing out the year, but that was about it. And then he went and scored 2 massive touchdowns. I think that when you look back at it, Avery Johnson had a really solid season.
Okay.
And yet he also left a lot out there to be desired, whether you're a K-State fan or whether you're somebody who thinks, this is a guy who's been talked about as a potential Heisman winner. So I don't know whether there's going to be
not many people have that take, Gabe.
Enough skill position talent around him for him to really reach his peak in college football.
Yeah.
Some people would say,
a lot of
Colin Klein was able to do it,
this
but
year.
Yes, it was very tight end heavy. I always think that it was a little bit flawed with the Giddens and Edwards setup, just because when you have 2 running backs who everybody has great feelings about, when one touches it and doesn't have success, half the fan base clamors for the other guy to touch the ball, and it's just a lot harder to distribute running back carries to 2 guys than it is to throw the ball to 2 or 3 options.
When you're not winning consistently.
Yes.
If K-State went 10-2, I don't think you'd hear that as much.
Yes.
Which they could have. I mean, like, the Iowa State game isn't the one that they're going to look back and be disappointed in. It's the Houston game, and it's the
Arizona State.
No. They're other.
You think BYU's the one to worry about?
Oh, well,
I mean, that was.
No, they got smacked, but like
that's their 4 losses.
I think K-State is a better team than BYU. So yes, I think Arizona State's figured something out. But yeah, Houston would be the worst of that bunch. But I think Avery Johnson. Part of what complicated that whole narrative is the Will Howard aspect. But I think Avery Johnson looks better today based on how Will Howard played against Michigan. It's like, when Will Howard was winning games, they're saying Avery Johnson boo. When he's not, you're saying, hey, now we have Johnson next year, and he'll be better next year. So I think the narratives around Avery Johnson have gone up and down, and I think reality is right in the middle there, like it is with a lot of things. I think the same can be said with Kansas because, Gabe, the talk for a while over the last month was, oh, my gosh, look how great Kansas is. They're the best, 4-7 team in the country. They're the most – they should be in the top 25. Like, they should – because, like, do you want the best top 20 teams playing now? They're the best
those are
team in the
mostly
Big 12.
jokes, but –
well, no, I think so. I think there was some belief. Look how great of a coaching job Lance Leipold did. This team could have phoned it in. They turned around. That's true, but also they finished 5-7. I don't think they're as bad as their record is, but I don't think they should have got the love that they got over the last month because every game counts, and they lost a lot of dumb games. And it took to the end of the year for them to get blown out, and it surprised me that they got blown out because I think they're a really talented team. But that's kind of the story of the season, a really talented team that did not live up to expectations. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it was kind of a snowball effect of sneaky Baylor being like one of the hottest teams in the Big 12 that's not Arizona State, but they also met a KU team that had just won 3 straight games against ranked opponents.
There's no reason to only score 17 points against Baylor and to give up 45.
Yeah, there was a lot of turnovers, and there was no stopping the Baylor offense. And a lot of that was, it felt like...
Is the Baylor offense better than the Colorado offense?
No, but they were also on the road. So, and it wasn't...
Well,
it wasn't...
That's fair.
58,000 people at Arrowhead screaming and yelling at Shedeur and Travis Hunter.
That shouldn't cause you to forget how to tackle, because they couldn't tackle. It was wild.
Yeah. I mean, I would just say that they missed out on their bowl game based on the UNLV game.
Right,
and
right.
They missed out on it on West Virginia game, and they missed out on it because of the ASU game even. I would say that was a point where KU was floundering, but it wasn't like ASU was some juggernaut that had this self-belief that this team had, that Arizona State has now, where they believe that they're the better team. And then the K-State game, it kind of just felt like a self-fulfilling prophecy of one team just knows that they beat the other one, and the other one knows that they've found ways to lose, and that's what worked. So
the Baylor loss in itself, no shame in that. I honestly thought KU probably would lose. It's the way they lost. I'm like, you've worked so hard to get in this spot to where you can get a bowl game and then just lay an egg. I put that again on coaching. Like, Lance Leipold had an incredible amount of talent, and Lance Leipold has been an incredible coach to this point, who has never dealt with expectations until this year, and he came extremely short of everyone's Some people thought college football playoff. Everyone thought at least a bowl game, and I think you look at the late game execution in all those games, like, was Jalen Daniels good enough this year? No. Was the offensive coordinator good enough this year? No. Was the defense coordinator good enough this year? No. Lance Leipold also was not good enough this year, Gabe. I don't give him credit for winning 3 out of the last 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested to see. I think that they had expectations entering 2023, and they won 9 games despite playing with a backup quarterback for most of the year. So I would say that was a decent point. But also, I think that the defense in general has regressed or not been reliant enough. Like, you just can't rely on them on the road to get the necessary stops. And it felt like any time that they needed a stop, they were unable to, whether it was the Illinois game, whether it was the West Virginia game, ASU again at the end, and then Baylor got whatever they wanted, and a lot of that was just, it felt like every time that they ran the ball, a linebacker was running themselves into the offensive line to get like blocking themselves. So I mean, I think it's certainly a disappointment. I'm interested to see how KU responds, because losing out on all of the bowl practices is certainly a setback. But
it's such a senior-laden team that I think this team will look very different. And that's why I don't blame the defense as much as I do when you look at the talent on the offensive side of the ball. With Devin Neal, with Sevion Morrison, I know Daniel Highshaw was hurt, so I don't factor him in there. I'm just thinking running backs. But also at the wide receiver position, Luke Grimm, Lawrence Arnold, Quentin Skinner, like Jared Casey at tight end. Like,
Jalen Daniels didn't value the ball enough this year.
And that's true. And he might come back.
That continued. Well, I don't know. Like, that's the thing, is you're going to have so many new faces. Yes, he could. He went through senior day against Colorado. So I don't know where his mind is at on that. But, yeah.
And maybe it's time for a change of pace.
We'll see.
Either way, that's just, I put more on the offensive side than the defense. And I should clarify, I think Lance Leipold is a great coach, and he should be the coach at KU, and KU's very lucky to have him. And I think the future's bright for Kansas. Okay. I feel like that's obvious and that's implied.
You know what he doesn't get to do this offseason, though, is go shop himself to a bunch of jobs, because he just had a 9-win season. And Washington just came open, and Indiana came open, and Nebraska, Indiana, or Wisconsin, like all these different, you know what I mean?
And next year he gets to play back at his home stadium. which I'm sure will be nice.
Yes.
And a brand new nice stadium.
Yeah.
So I think next year should be a fun year for KU football, and they play Missouri. So get ready for the border war returning. All right, let's end the show on some college football playoff talk. Mr. Swartz, you are heavily invested in the top 12 because your Arizona State Sun Devils have a shot. If they beat Iowa State, I think they're absolutely in. You agree? Yes?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, the winner of the Big 12 is in, and I would argue that the winner of the Big 12 should be a top 4 seed.
Okay, so that's a little. So here, let me read you this. I don't feel strongly about this top 12, but
okay,
folks,
let's
if you
hear
may
it.
not be initiated, here's where, and I'll give my point at the end here. But number 1, Oregon 12-0.
Yep.
Texas number 2 at
Yep.
11-1. Penn State number 3 at 11-1. And I don't think Penn State's that good. That's where we start. Okay, but they're
so
number 3.
So you're a BCS guy. You think we should just have Oregon and Texas?
Yeah, it's just top 2. Number 4, Notre Dame. Should not be that high because they lost to Northern Illinois, but there you go, number 4.
They've killed everybody else.
Number 5, they haven't played anybody else. Number 5, Indiana 11-1. Number 6, Boise State 11-1. I don't think they're that great, but I look at their resume. They've won a lot, and their only loss was barely to Oregon. I think they'll lose in the first round of the college football playoff, but that's where I put them at 6. Your thoughts on the top 6?
I can't be a guy who says that I think that. Like, I genuinely think ASU is better than Boise State.
Okay.
And so, by that nature, I also believe that despite the 2 losses, which ASU as well has and Iowa State has, I think Georgia and Ohio State are also both better than Boise State. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I don't really disagree with that. Number 7, then I put Georgia at 10-2, and they shouldn't be there because they should have lost to Georgia Tech. And that game was awesome, and it was driving me crazy. I was watching it here. That game was nuts, and Georgia should have lost the freaking game. And it shouldn't have even gone to overtime. And then
I talk about every call going a team's
way.
way.
It was ridiculous. And then, but I mean, listen, they buckled down. I give them credit. And Georgia has faced a tougher schedule than most this year, so I'm fine with them being in. Number 8, Tennessee, 10-2. Then number 9, Ohio State, 10-2. That's my number 9. And then number 10, I put the winner of the Big 12, Arizona State, Iowa State. And number 11, SMU. I don't think SMU is any good. They lost to BYU and didn't beat anyone else, but they're going to win the ACC and they're going to be in. Your thoughts on the top 11?
I don't know how you can think SMU is any worse off than Boise State.
Because they that's fair. SMU is probably better than Boise State, but I think Boise State's undefeated record with their only loss, like strength of loss, is way more in Boise State's favor.
That's yes.
And Boise won every other game.
That is true. SMU's loss is not a bad one though,
and they don't have great wins.
SMU made a quarterback change in the middle of the season and got much better offensively. So who's your 12?
Well, so that's what I wanted to bring up.
Mr. SEC.
Wanted to bring up the point that I tweeted out yesterday, the Mizzou South Carolina moment where Brady Cook connected with Luther Burden on 4th down to give Mizzou the lead. With 1 minute left. And I said, the quote was, in hindsight, this play should have sent Mizzou to the college football playoff if Mizzou plays just 1 more minute of defense. And I thought back to a month ago when Gabe was clowning on me for all the things that needed to happen for Mizzou to make the college football playoff. Did they all happen? They all happened with the exception of Mizzou. But like the 5-6 things, like all the list that I read here on KC Sports Tonight, it actually happened, which is crazy. But the reason I bring this up, I had a lot of people, not a lot of people, but a handful of people saying Mizzou wasn't close to the college football playoff, or no, that win didn't get them into the college football playoff. I think when you look at those 11, then if you assume Mizzou hung on and beat South Carolina, who's the 12 seed, Gabe? Is it 10-2 Mizzou, who has a top 25 win over South Carolina at the time, and 0 losses to non-ranked teams, just A&M and Alabama, or
just absolute thumpings to A&M
right,
and Bama?
Or would you rather give that to 10-2 BYU, who is the closest competition in my mind, but they have a loss to a non-ranked team? Then you have Miami, who has 0 top 25 wins, and both their losses were to non-ranked teams. UNLV, who has 0 top 25 wins, 1 non-ranked loss. So those are the 10-2 teams. Then do you put a 9-3 team over a 10-2 team in Alabama, Ole Miss, Clemson,